Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm very happy that you could join us today. Before we get to today's guest, I'd like to thank our Connect podcast sponsor, Incelerate.
Thanks, Susan, and thanks for listening. This is Josh Wren, CEO and founder of Incelerate. We're grateful for our partnership with the CMBA and are committed as a company to help lenders close more loans. We do this with our customer experience platform that has a CRM, lead management, marketing, automation, robust content library, desktop and mobile applications. We do this to help you engage and stay connected to your current borrowers, referral partners, past borrowers, and potential new ones. If you want to find out why we're the fastest growing CRM provider in the mortgage industry, please reach out to us and ask for a demo.
Okay, thanks, Josh. And now I'd like to turn to today's guest, also a member of my board of directors. Welcome to Cody Charfauros with Slatt Capital.
Thanks, Susan. Awesome to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to have you here. You and I have known each other for a few years now, both before you joined the board and of course working in our leadership now. But I always like to start out with asking people how they got into the mortgage industry. It's usually an interesting story. It says nobody grew up wanting to or thinking they were going to be in the mortgage business, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any family in real estate generally or in mortgages. I started in the business through my best friend. He and I were college roommates, and he actually started with Slatt Capital as an analyst, and he has a background in real estate, and that's a deeper story for another time. But I saw he was successful and loved the people he was working with, and I was ready for a change. I was actually in the film industry for over a decade. And I decided to ask him, hey, is there any opportunity over there? And he didn't know if there was or not, but I met with Michael in our LA office and we just hit it off and I joined them. It's been now almost a decade over here. So it's been a great ride.
Wow, that's good. That's an interesting segue, the film industry from this too. One thing that, and this is, predates your, I think, involvement in the industry as well. But I know one thing the industry's always been looking for is ways to increase diversity. Can you talk with us a little bit about how Slatt Capital is attracting young or diverse mortgage professionals into the industry?
Yeah, I think the segue is good because I was their first junior hire that did not have any direct experience. The standard mode was always you start as an analyst, you work for a number of years, 3, 4, 5 years, and then start to work and start to become more of a producer and take on more of a production origination role. I was the first employee that they hired right in as an associate production role, and I did not ever start as an analyst. And that worked out fairly well for them, definitely very well for me. And because of that experience, and I think a real attitude by our management that the mortgage industry needs to have younger, more diverse folks, that they've made a concerted effort to seek out those kind of people to join the firm. And I think what it started out with was that attitude, and it's continued to pay dividends in really big ways, because not only are we bringing on more women, more folks from diverse backgrounds, not necessarily just high net worth individuals that have a real estate background forever. And what we're seeing is our client base is also shifting. It's been a really positive development, and to the point where it started out as a concerted effort. Now it's the main focus of our company.
Yeah, that's impressive and definitely needed in the industry. I can remember having these conversations a couple of decades ago when I first had this job, thinking, oh my gosh, how do we encourage that? And I'm so grateful to see so much, an added diversity into the mortgage, the real estate finance industry at this point. So 2022 is definitely it's a tough market for real estate. What asset classes do you see faring better than others in this market?
Yeah, it's the same story as actually was happening last year, that the asset classes in multifamily and industrial are doing better than, the retail and the office space for the reasons that many of our viewers will understand and know. Office being, a question mark, exactly what's going to happen when people do return to their offices, if they do, or, if a hybrid work from home model is the future going forward. And we've got some longer term leases that have not yet rolled over since the pandemic experience. And then retail has always been a little challenging with the online shifting of services. Although we're still doing a lot of all of those asset classes. We're still doing a lot of office financing. We're still doing a lot of retail financing. Hotels was a challenging place post-pandemic because nobody knew quite how they were going to fare. But the truth is, there's actually a fairly healthy appetite for financing of hotels. And last year, we had a record year from an originations perspective because rates were so good and the market was doing quite well. And we've seen some slowdowns, and new originations are definitely down. But at the same time, Q1 and Q2 of our pipeline were actually ahead of where they were those Q1 and Q2 of last year. Our Q3 pipeline is incredibly healthy. Every single deal is more challenging. We're earning our stripes a lot more as intermediaries. But it's actually not nearly as bad as a lot of people think it is. I think on the residential side of the business, it's a lot worse than it is on the commercial side.
That's for sure. Yeah, and just question mark of the pandemic that just caused, all of real estate finance. What is going to happen? How are businesses how are they going to come back? And that, now we're kind of seeing the results of that. How would you say Slatt differentiates itself from competitors?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main focuses is being a middle market space. We concentrate on smaller loans than a lot of our direct competitors. So our average loan size is between $3 and $5 million. And when you do, that means we do a lot of transactions. And when you do a lot of transactions, the main thing you have to do is you either have to throw a lot of people at it, or you have to throw a lot of technology, or both. And so what we've done to differentiate ourselves is to really invest in our people, invest in our systems to allow us to be effective and efficient when doing a lot of transactions, but then also invest heavily in technology too.
Yeah, that is nothing else I wanted to ask you about, because I know you are one of the people on the commercial lending side that has an appreciation of technology. There just seems to be a lot of technology solutions kind of taking off in the CRE space. What are your thoughts on kind of the industry adapting to the use of technology?
Yeah, technology in commercial real estate finance, but generally in commercial real estate, has been very slow to adopt. And there's some structural reasons for that I think are going to be longer term, and it's going to take longer than in some other industries, even in the residential side. For example, it's very difficult to record a set of documents at a county recorder's office because each of the counties has a completely different way of doing it. And, the title companies have to do it in different ways and adapt. And so there's a certain degree to which some of this can't necessarily be solved without a lot of other stakeholders taking ownership in the knowledge of that it needs to change and adapt, or that there's a better way. On our side, what we've really tried to invest in is information sharing. So we have a custom database that we have developed over many years, and it continues every week to get stronger, that all of our originators and our servicing folks can access every single loan comp that we have gathered over those many years. And we've got hundreds and hundreds of new comps. These are loan quotes, these are updates to loan programs, et cetera, that everybody can access in real time. So when I'm out there talking with new borrowers and they want to know what's happening in the markets, I have real-time information I can tap into on a location specific basis, on an asset class basis, even down to the tenant itself. If I have a borrower that's going to be buying a net lease property that they're considering CVS versus Walgreens, I can tell them exactly what the market is saying for those two tenants and whether there's a difference on how the financing is going to be structured, whether there's a difference on whether valuations are coming back from appraisers. We have a tremendous amount of information at our fingertips, and that makes me as an originator a lot more effective in getting our clients the best financing options possible.
Yeah, it's just, represent the association representing both, of course, residential and commercial lenders, because residential's, consumer direct, their use of technology has always been ahead, but it is remarkable to me how many technology solutions are popping up in the CRE space now. And in fact, we have a panel on technology coming up at our Western States CREF Conference here in just a couple of weeks. And I know you're going to be speaking on a couple of sessions at Western States CREF, not the least of which is having a fireside chat with our keynote speaker, Nolan Bushnell, who, in addition to being an incredible futurist and entrepreneur, is the founder of Atari, which I think is fascinating. We'll have some fun Atari game consoles there in the networking lounge to make it fun. But you want to give us maybe a little sneak preview of what you might be talking with him about?
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited and honored to be able to sit down with Nolan Bushnell. He's a legend in Silicon Valley and in the video game industry more generally. He essentially created the video game industry among a couple of the other folks that he worked with at Atari and other places. But certainly the man is considered by many to be a visionary, to be someone who can see trends and see through some of the fluff, but also see the real core of what is our future world is going to look like, for better and for worse. And so what I'm excited to hear from Nolan is his thoughts on where the world is going to be, but generally, but also bring it down to how individuals will use the world, will use real estate, and get a sense from him what our industry on the real estate finance side really should be prepared for, both on the technology front, but just generally getting a download from a visionary like him on how real estate will change.
Right. And just that adaptation of technology across the board and how that, relates to how people are going to be coming to work and, their, home life and things. It'll be fascinating. I'm excited to be hearing from him too. So I can't believe that Western States CREF is just a short time away. Of course, conference that has been around for 25 years and was started by your founder, by Barry Slatt. So look forward to seeing you in Vegas in a couple of weeks. Cody, I kind of wanted to round it out with, I'd mentioned at the top of our interview that, you're a member of our leadership, member of our board of directors. Can you share with our listeners why you feel it's important for the CRE industry to support the California MBA?
So I think there's a number of reasons, obviously, from we all need to be in together to understand and advocate for ourselves and what the industry is doing. Yet from an understanding perspective, we collaborate on what tools from technology should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, what would be helpful, what they wouldn't be helpful. It's a lot easier to have those discussions as a group, as an industry, than it is on an individual basis. But I think the advocacy portion is probably the most important thing for me. It's the one I didn't understand until I really became a board member and really got active there. The way California goes, often so goes the rest of the country thereafter. And so for better and for worse, California is at the bleeding edge of some of the major issues that affect our industry politically and otherwise. And as a consequence, the CMBA is often at that bleeding edge, the cutting edge of being able to provide input to help steer lawmakers to make the right decisions, both for all of the folks that our industry affects, but obviously for ourselves as well. And so having a direct voice in that through the CMBA, I think, is by far the most crucial portion of what we do. And I'm proud of that collaboration, and that's what motivates me to stay involved.
Thank you. Yeah, advocacy is definitely the cornerstone of our association, and boy, our state legislature keeps us busy, that's for sure.
To say the least.
Well, Cody, thank you so much for being a part of the Connect podcast, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. To access any of our episodes of Connect, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.